Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score. Field on the near side, man, open touchdown. Waddle has got it on the run, and he's gone. Jalen Waddle. Touchdown. The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Pick off by Xavien Howard.
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back for another episode of the Finish Line. BallGame disappeared during the intros right there. I don't know, triple OG to Mr. Ghost over here. I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure he'll be back any second. But Richmond, what's going on, brother? I mean, 2 in a row. We're back to our winning ways. Second victory Monday in a row. Started the season off with 3 in a row. You got to wonder, can we beat that number? Bro, how you feeling, Rich?
I feel good. I think BallGame is back from Detroit. He must have been over there at Motor City with the Temptations and Aretha Franklin, some of them old school classic groups, singing doo-wop or something. But, hey, I'm feeling good, man. I think, you see it coming together. One of the happiest things I was happy about was not only the way Tua played, but the way he learned to slide in this game rather than trying to go head first. So I'm sure that made a lot of people happy. But I think the thing with this team is, and what people got to understand is, our defense really struggled this game. And there are going to be times when one side is going to have to compensate for the other one. And, I mean, the way, Detroit jumped out on us, but the offense picked up the slack and it kept operating. And I think, not in our minds, but I think in Detroit, man, I think they knew it was a matter of time because, I mean, Tua was just slicing up the defense. I mean, it was like
surgical.
Oh my goodness, it was bad. And I was like, everybody just kept their composure. So we're gonna just run our offense. They can't stop us. It was a good mix up, and it was a beautiful thing to see. So and it continued. I think we played Pittsburgh. We jumped out on them, and then we would stall out in the red zone. But to actually correct those mistakes we had in the red zone and be able to, score touchdowns instead of trying to kick field goals or whatever like that. Man, it was a beautiful thing. But it also let people know the caliber of this team. And I'm not talking about Dolphin fans, but I'm talking about the analysts that cover the NFL and stuff like that. And I think they know that, and I think even the Dolphins know, even some of the moves we made yesterday or whatever, we're making a push, and we're definitely one of the elite teams in the AFC right now. So it's not a secret anymore, but I'm excited. But I've been talking long enough. Grab your guitar, Mr. BallGame. You got the mic, brother.
I think the biggest thing right now, man, and good evening, gentlemen. Sorry about that. I had a little technical difficulties, man. You know, I'm still getting used to this whole green screen process. My week, you know, my early season predictions was that everything should start coming together roughly around week 8. I thought that the offensive line would need some time to figure out who they really were and who they wanted to be. Unfortunately, we lost Liam for a little while, but I think that we have some capable replacements in the building that can come out and give us great spurts of good play. So I don't think we're gonna lose anything in terms of continuity there. I think the biggest thing for me, right now is people don't understand football, bro. And you know, defense is not gonna come out every week and just dominate teams. It's just not gonna happen. And some weeks there are gonna be these circumstances where, like last week, the offense has to show up. But you like the offense to show up and do what defenses normally do, which is provide the pressure on the opponent. Detroit knew, just like you said, Richmond, Detroit knew without a shadow of a doubt that if they had a hiccup and they didn't score, there was going to be a problem because they had no answer. No matter what they threw at this offense, they had no answer to stop us. And the only time we stopped ourselves when we kicked the one field goal. Had it not been for that, the score would have been completely different. I think it probably would have changed a lot more things down the pipeline. But overall, man, all we did is get markedly better at positions that really and truthfully expose some of the issues that we have on the secondary. Bringing Chubb in, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So, all in all, great week, man. It's always good to be able to come back and get with y'all, man, after a win. You know, the losses, they taste a little different. So, I was really able to enjoy going to work and seeing all of the kids at the school and all my colleagues saying, dang, man, y'all might really have something special outside, you know, and be able to just look at them and give them that look like, I told you so. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's good. It's a good time. You know what I'm saying? It's good to be a Dolphin fan right now. And I agree, Richmond. People are definitely sitting up and now taking notice of what we got going on. When you got every person on every social media and every sports media site talking about the Dolphins at this point. Now, even the ones that had nothing that nice to say are trying to backtrack and round back, you know, come back around and have something positive to say just so they don't get canceled.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good place to be.
So obviously the big news this week was the Dolphins acquiring star pass rusher Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos. You know, they sent that 2023 first round pick that they acquired from San Francisco. They also sent a 4th round pick and running back Chase Edmonds to the Broncos for Chubb and a 5th rounder. Once Edmonds was moved, they then turned around and they traded a 2023 5th round pick for Jeff Wilson Jr., who has a ton of experience in this outside zone scheme that Mike McDaniel is also very, very, very familiar with. In terms of Bradley Chubb now, they've added a guy who he's going to get home a lot more than what we've been getting this season. Really, Phillips is the only one almost even getting there. Ogba's kind of been a wash. Melvin Ingram started out hot, but he's really evened out. AVG's been really spurts at best. But now they bring in a former Pro Bowler, a legitimate star, a actual defensive captain over there, who's now Rahi. They traded Chase Edmonds, and then he said, thank you for the number. And Bradley Chubb's also rocking the number 2 now. I don't know if you guys saw him. He's on the practice field today.
Yeah.
With it. He already has 5.5 sacks. He has 26 pressures on the season, according to PFF. Remember, Phillips has 32. This is a guy who's going to get double, and he's going to allow a lot of one-on-one matchups. Anyways, you know, Byron, whether he comes back or not after the bye, I still think with our secondary starting to get healthy, Kahoo, Crossan, etc., he automatically helps the guys back there. The ripple effect Bradley Chubb brings is absolutely huge. But because of the hype now, because of all the work that Chris Greer has done, you look at this team, they made the most noise at the trade deadline. It was a trade deadline record. There were 10 trades at the NFL trade deadline, which is a record. And 2 of those were Miami. I got to ask you guys, start with you, Richmond. Is it Super Bowl or bust now for the Miami Dolphins?
Well, you got to give Chris Greer credit. Like Cardi B said, he made money moves, and to bring in a guy like Chubb, definitely. I think you knew, like you said, we're getting production out of Phillips, but Agba, Ingram, some of those guys it hadn't been consistent, and you definitely need consistent pressure on the quarterback, and that takes pressure off of your secondary, especially with the injuries we've had. Jones at the safety. Byron Jones is not back yet, and so we've had multiple injuries in the secondary. So when you can get a guy like you said, a former Pro Bowl, he's been in the league about 5 years now, and him and Von Miller at one time was opposite ends. So when you kind of think of bringing that type of caliber guy and putting it with Jalen Phillips, I mean it's a beautiful thing. But I think like you said, we're setting up for the Super Bowl, or at least be a Super Bowl contender, to put yourself in position to say, hey, I see what we got. There's no need of waiting, during the draft. The good thing about, I think, bringing in veterans or guys, they've got a proven body of work, whereas not that a rookie doesn't, but sometimes it's a growing pains or growing lessons you got to go through. But this guy, he's probably going to hit the ground running. He already knows how to rush the passer, stuff like that. So definitely we should get a return fairly quickly. And then, not saying he wasn't happy in Denver, but the way things are going now, I guarantee he'd rather be on a team that definitely got a chance to make the playoffs and setting up for the Super Bowl.
And I want to extend him, because Chris Greer came out today and said, obviously yesterday we sent out a private jet to go pick up Jeff Wilson and Bradley Chubb and bring them down. But there was already word yesterday coming out that we wanted to extend him. And then in his presser today, Greer said that they're going to extend him. And we're talking the word coming out. Shout out to Benjamin Albright. Great at what he does. Works for the Denver Broncos, insider there for the Broncos. He told me privately, $20 million average per year is what Bradley Chubb. So, I mean, not only does he want to play here, but we're willing to also pay him, and we're making him feel wanted, right, Richmond? And that means a lot for a player of that caliber, because you mentioned Von Miller, Richmond.
Yeah.
Bradley Chubb's one of the reasons they let Von Miller walk.
You're right. And Von is getting older, this and that. And then I think the other plus for Chubb is, I think he went to North Carolina State or whatever.
Yep.
So it's an easier commute from North Carolina down to Miami versus, trying to fly out west, this and that. So easier to get his family in and out and all that. So I definitely think that the Dolphins are setting up for this push. I think they realize where we are, especially seeing how the offense is really coming together. And like you said, BallGame, it was going to take about 6-7 weeks, and we're hitting that sweet spot, this and that, and it's taking off. So, they said, hey, if we're this close, you got to take advantage of the opportunity. And I think that's where we're at. So, I agree with, and I love the moves that they made yesterday. It was big time.
Shout out to Dino, or it could be Dino. And just shout out for 2:00 in the morning right now from Munich. Whoa. Watching us live. So appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
BallGame, your thoughts. I know we talked about it a little bit when we did the film breakdown on Finside the NFL yesterday when we reviewed the All 22 near the end and the final thoughts there. We were actually just as much gushing. Me, you, and Martin were gushing over Jeff Wilson as much as we're gushing over Bradley Chubb, because this is just like Chubb and what Richmond said about Chubb's a guy who can walk in here and hit the ground running. Jeff Wilson is the exact, and he's rocking the 23. He got the Ronnie Brown brother. I'm loving life. And I mean, this is a guy who, listen, as long as him and Mostert stay healthy, I think they'll extend them after this year and they'll draft guys behind them. Right. But I think, for maybe this year and next year, at least, I think if these guys can stay healthy, they're our 1-2 punch BallGame if they can stay healthy. Right.
Yep. I think I'm going to ease up on the Super Bowl. We right here in the middle of it all. When we get to week 12, I'll start talking Super Bowl possibly. Look after what we look. But I think they've done a great job of putting us in the conversation of teams that can actually go and possibly get it done.
Contenders.
Right? Yeah. And that in itself is a huge statement, because there aren't many teams that people are willing to go out and say that about. And the way this roster is constructed right now, no one can argue that this isn't a Super Bowl caliber offense and defense. The team in itself, from top to bottom, is really solid now. And this is what we've wanted. This is what we've been asking for. There's not a lot of holes. There's not a lot of glaring areas that really and truthfully, when everyone is healthy, would say there's no reason why they can't do it. But, I always say, 1 week, 1 game at a time. And then, you play who's in front of you. It doesn't matter what people say about who your opponent is. You just go out and do what you're supposed to do and let the rest take care of itself. And, when the regular season is over and that business is conducted, just make sure you have yourself in a position to be as, one of the teams that's getting to play going forward, and I think that's the goal right now. Win as many games as possible that's left on the schedule, and then we'll worry about the rest later. And yeah, man, this Jeff Wilson thing, man, I'm still, bro, like this dude legitimately, like when you think about it, bro, these are legitimate boss moves that enhance what we already had. Yeah, and
our window is now. F them picks. Picks.
F
We're literally
them picks.
taking the AFC Rams approach.
Yeah.
If you look at Tyreek and you look at Bradley Chubb, and at the end of the day, was the Tyreek Hill trade not justified? Because look at what he's given us. This man's on pace for over 2,000 yards right now, and we're paying him quarterback money, and he's worth more than half the quarterbacks in the league right now in terms of value. The guy is arguably the best player in football right now. You can legitimately make an argument that this guy is a top 3, top 5 football player right now. Tyreek's next level. Tyreek's just out of this world right now. And it's just, but I gotta say this, guys. All right, so we got 9 games left, right? Okay. There's a couple things. One, sit back and think about it for a sec. Who really scares you? The Chiefs don't scare me. The only team that slightly worries me is the Bills, because they have superhuman Josh Allen, but we just beat them and they had 93 offensive snaps, so I'm not scared. I might be slightly worried, but they're the only team that gives me a little bit of pause. But even then, I'm not afraid of them. We can beat them. They're not going to get 93 snaps the next time they face us offensively. That's not going to happen again. All right, so if you couldn't get it done with 93 snaps, good luck to you next time. And so they don't scare me. And then on top of this, boys, I said this to Martin. I've said this to EM privately. Gentlemen, we are in a position to, with the next 3 games, Wilson, Chubb can get acclimated. We can build some serious momentum and confidence with our opponents over the next 3 games. If we get some help around the league, I'm telling you right now, and we'll talk about this later from a defensive aspect. We'll dive into this. But if we can somehow, even get that 2nd seed because we get help and the Bills fall down, we got to win the division. If we can win this division and finish in that 1 and 2 seed and get home field advantage, because if you're the 2 seed, you're going to get home field advantage in the 2nd round. The only way you're not going to have home field advantage is if the 1 seed goes to the AFC Championship, right? Then it's the 1 and 2.
Right.
If this team can get home field advantage, gentlemen, I think we're the most dangerous team in the if this team can get to the playoffs and get home field advantage, and I know we're talking down the line here, but I look at this roster, I think this would be the most dangerous team in the NFL. You wouldn't, you haven't, you know what I mean? So, I look at this and I'm like, man, this is on the only thing that can stop this team right now, and I truly believe this is health.
Injuries. That's it.
That's the only thing I think can hold this team back.
Because when you look at what's happening week to week, they are installing and getting more aggressive and more creative on offense every single week. And what was the mantra about, like, the defense had to hold us together? Now the defense doesn't necessarily have to do as much when the offense is scoring at such a clip that, okay, all they got to do is get you 1 or 2 stops. They get 1 or 2, it's over, because no one has shown really that they can stop this offense with Tua at the helm. You feel me? And that's just crazy when you think about it. I'm watching the film back over again from last night, bro, and I saw professional players scared of what was coming at them in the next snaps because they had no answer for it, bro. There's so much creativity in what Mike McDaniels is doing, and these guys are playing now officially for each other. There's no individual ball. Yeah. Tyreek might not be getting touchdowns, but the yardage that he's getting and Waddle is catching the touchdown.
And you pointed out, look how excited he was when Waddle got that touchdown.
Yeah, they're playing for each other, bro. And when you got a team that is playing for each other and they got a coach who is not afraid to take chances because he believes in his guys, that's a recipe for everybody to be in trouble. And I don't give a damn what Josh Allen does from this point on. The fact of the matter is they won and punched them in the mouth and beat them with them 90-some snaps you said. Now they're going in the next time to see them with confidence of like, you know what? We're better than y'all.
Yeah, you gave us our best shot.
You gave us our best shot. We took it, we ate that, and we still whooped y'all. So now what you going to do with us?
And our quarterback is the one who made the best throw of that game, that throw to Waddle that led to the winning touchdown, man. Like, I don't know, man. You look at it, and you talked about going back and watch it. I did that too last night. I went back and watched it over again. I think that's like the 4th time I've watched that game, but it's like 3rd time I've watched just our snaps. And the confidence he was playing with. I mean,
it's scary, bro.
Good luck.
He is cool, calm, and collected on a whole nother level in the pocket. And it's like last year. There was times last year, and you remember this, where he was legitimately fidgety in the pocket. Like his feet were never set. His body language was just off. But this year, for some strange reason, none of that is there, bro. He's like legitimately in there holding it on and making his reads and saying, you know what? I see you coming down the pipe at me, but I'm still going to put this ball out there for a while. Only my guy can get it, and I believe he can get it. And there's nothing you can do. That type of confidence spreads to everyone, bro. And I don't know what you do with a team like that, bro. Like, I've seen this, man, at the high school level, the college level, but at the pro level, man, no team has ever put as much speed on the field as we have right now. And it's amazing right now at this point that the NFL is not doing something else to try to screw us out of this process. Because
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm just saying, though, you know what I'm – come on, Richmond. You know I'm right, bro. Like, Jerry's sitting over there looking at his situation like –
Hey, ball game, like we always say, it's hard, but it's fair. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else had a chance to try to get it.
Everybody had a chance to do it, and we did it. So, yeah.
But you know what? Speaking about the confidence, and then I'll turn it back over to Reason. I was thinking about what you said, but the thing with our defense, they go against this offense in practice every day, and one of the things, like you said, with Tua, he's more confident. But one of the reasons is Terron, Armstead, Connor Williams, solidifying that line where he don't have to worry about every play. Where's the guy coming, this and that? So that made a big difference. But think about it, ball game Reason. When you see what our offense does as a defensive player the last couple of years, they've had to perform extremely well in order to give us a chance to win. They don't have that pressure on them this year. You know what I'm saying? Because they see it just like everybody else is seeing it. Not saying they're getting lackadaisical, but they're not saying we got to go out, we got to try to force a fumble, we got to do something to swing the momentum. You ain't got to do that. Like you said, a couple stops here and there and let the offense do what they do. And when you don't have that kind of pressure on you, man, it's only going to do but get better. They're having fun.
BallGame said something too, and he was talking about, that everyone's playing for each other right now, and that's clearly evident. And why that really matters to me and why I really want them to win, obviously we not only do we deserve it as a fan base for what we've been through, but can I be honest with you? The last 20 years, one of my favorite Dolphin players was Rashad Jones. I thought there was a period of 2 to 3 years where he was arguably the best safety in football, especially that 1 year where he had those touchdowns and he's forcing the turnovers, and he was just a beast that year. And we never even got we never got him a playoff win, and I felt we always did him a disservice in terms of, people would have remembered him a lot more if we would have been a contender and a playoff team. People can say what they want about X, X put up with a head coach last time, and Brian Flores, who didn't believe in stars, yet brought in Byron Jones and paid him when X was clearly the best guy in that room. And there was a lot of conflict. As much as Tua didn't like Brian Flores, X hated him just as much. And, that's one of the things that X and Tua came over the past couple of years. Why they're so close is because they didn't like who they were under, right? And, he was always a guy who stuck up for Tua and stuff like that. So anyways, with X, I want to win for that guy. X is one of my he's one of my favorite. When I love Terrell Buckley, I love Patrick Surtain. Shout out to BallGame's jersey. I loved Madison. I loved Jeremiah Bell. I loved a lot of secondary players that have come through the last 25 years. Right. And X is right up there with Rashad, where people would be talking about him more if we were a winning franchise, right? Like if we were winning a franchise, you really think X would have lost that defensive player of the year vote a couple years ago? Nope. If we were a consistent winner, X deserves this, man. He's stuck it out. He's stuck to his word about, we've paid him, and look at the injuries he's played through. Whereas before we were always like, oh, do we pay the guy? He's always going to be injured. And look at the last 2 years, he's played through groin injuries, which are some of the worst injuries you can play through at that position, because he's out there trying to earn every dollar and make a difference for us. Those are the type of players I want to win for, man. And Xavien Howard deserves to be on a winning franchise. And for how he's stuck by this team, he deserves that winning franchise he plays on to be the Miami Dolphins, just as much as us fans deserve that. I feel really passionate about that. I don't know why. I just, I saw Rashad Jones not get his due respect because we weren't winners, and X is the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right, man. When you really go back and you think about some of the guys that have played here for this organization and they left it on the field, there were periods and times where we just didn't. I don't think the organization really did a good job of honoring those guys by making the right decisions and bringing players in to do certain things that were going to change the complexion of things. So here we are with an opportunity to say, even though they didn't get one, they were a part of the building processes associated with where we are now. And, even though they've been gone, they still paved the storyboard for where we are today as Dolphin fans. And nothing more gives back to them, even Richmond. Right? Let's think about it, right? We got a guy right here right now that arguably should have been in the Hall of Fame 4 or 5 years ago. You see what I'm saying? Everything that they do now is tribute to the hard work and dedication that he did and all the others that we mentioned that were solid, key, really great football players in the NFL. And, I don't see them. I really don't, honestly, bro. I don't see this group that they've assembled fumbling or even missing this alley-oop. This is an alley-oop that they the way Greer has done this, I have to applaud that man. I was skeptical about a lot of things that he's done and him being shrewd and whatnot. But as of late, he's made sound decisions that are putting us squarely in the best positions.
Doesn't it feel like, I said this to EM, doesn't it feel like handcuffs came off of him when Flores left? Now go do it. The moves he's making, we would have never made under the last regime.
Nope. You're right.
Never.
You're 100% correct. And it's beautiful, bro, because now he gets to do exactly what but they said Flo came in with that. I want some control over the personnel decisions and all that stuff. Well, I always believe that a coach, the GM's job is to get the shopping list for the coach and go out and execute the shopping list. You shouldn't be in the weeds of all of the other things because you got to coach this 70 some odd people. You feel me? Focus on that. I'll get you the parts you need. Now Chris Greer gets an opportunity to just say, you know what you need, Mike?
Yeah.
All right, F them picks. All right, I got you. Let's go get it. All right? Money's no object.
And I think F them picks too, BallGame, because I think they believe like we all believe. If Tua never went down, I think they believe this is an 8-0, 7-1 time.
7-1 team.
Yeah, I think they believe that 110%. So let me ask you guys this. Okay, so we just come off that huge comeback win. We were down 21-7 at one point. Dolphins come back. They win 31-27 because our defense started delivering those stops that BallGame was talking about. Boys, Tua, out of this world, 29 to 36, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns. Should have been 4 because that Sherfield thing was in. A 138.7 passer rating, a 92.8 QBR, has the highest single graded game by a quarterback this season according to PFF standards. He is now, him and Jalen Hurts, he is 1, Hurts is 2, are the 2 highest graded quarterbacks by PFF this season right now. Tua is just on a different level. But let me ask you this. Was this Tua Tagovailoa's best professional football game? And was this the game that stood out to you that it looked like the light went on and everything slowed down for him?
For me, it's definitely been one of his best games, but I think I think it's coming together now, like what BallGame was saying and what you were saying earlier. He just has a focus on throwing the football now. He don't have to worry about where's this guy. He's got a good enough offensive line in front of him to where now he can truly focus on what he needs to focus on. And when you get a guy like Waddle, Tyreek, you got Gesicki. I mean, he spreads the ball. He doesn't just lock in on the receiver. So he goes through his progressions, reading it, and like you said, everybody is happy for each other, and normally you just don't see this very often in the NFL. And the thing I was kind of thinking about was, I believe it was this was the 90s. I'm going way back, but he's a left-handed quarterback like Steve Young, and I remember Steve Young lit it up one year. I think they actually won the Super Bowl. Similar players, but different, but just, I mean, I think it's just the precision and the percentage of completion of his passes and the way he executes the offense. I mean, it's been truly remarkable, and we're only halfway through the season, so I think it's going to only get better. I think he's in a role, and I think if he continues to play like he did, he's definitely going to be in the conversation for MVP of the league. It's just we just got to keep everybody healthy. But I mean, I think everybody knows, and I think like BallGame said, we've had some haters and analysts and stuff. Some of them are coming around, but some of them are still trying to find excuses. But you can't hate on this kid, man. This is some of the stuff that I saw at Alabama. When you get this kid the type of weapons like that, and he knows how to utilize them. And I give Coach McDaniel, I give him a ton of credit because this offense here is serious. And it was one game, I think it was early in the first half, but it was like fourth. It was a 4th down, and he went for it instead of punting it. And it was like
the 4th and 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I was like 4 yards. I was like, I love his aggressiveness because he knows. I mean, so I was just like, okay, let me just sit back and just be quiet and stay in my lane. But man, they just blowing through it, and so so far this has been his best game, but it could get better, and that's the scary thing about it.
We got to make a couple shout outs here. One to Fins Up Winsey, and he just thanks us for giving Real Miami Football Talk. Said he had to put up with a lot of foolishness this morning, and he's from New Zealand. So shout out to all over the world, New Zealand showing love. And then Adrian Hernandez, he's from Newark, New Jersey, fan since '85. He said he's very happy with the trades. He just ordered his Chubb number 2 jersey, and he tells us to keep up the great work. Appreciate all of you for showing the love. Yes. BallGame.
Yeah, man.
Your thoughts on was it Tua's best game you've seen? A lot of people, in the comments they're loving the Ravens comeback, which I would say the Ravens game is a game for me. I think not to take anything away from Detroit, but I think the mental anguish that goes into the preparations for that Ravens game, because they have been pretty much a monkey on our back for a minute, beating us in the head. To taking all of those different things and the way he went into that game and kept his composure and pulled us through it, I think those are the games that really and truthfully mark who the quarterback is going to be and what sets the quarterback apart from his counterparts. And 2 times, in the Bills game and the Ravens games, those stand out as better games to me. I think statistically he just proved to the world on Sunday that he is that dude. He is him. You see what I'm saying? But I think there's more to come.
and I don't think across the board that the league is ready for what's coming, right? Especially when, like I said, you got these guys out here legitimately playing for each other and consistently looking to shore up and support each other. That's the scary part. And you can look around the league and you can see a whole lot of individual players, right? But they don't have like these guys looking at each other on 4th and 11 or 4th and 7, looking at each other out there, and they look over at the coach and they're like, let's go for it. You know what I mean? Like they legitimately look over there and look at Mike and be like, okay, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? That type of confidence is hard to kill. You know what I mean? And for those people that are out there in Viewer land that have never played football, that shit is worse. That shit right there is stronger than any drug you can take, bro, because it feeds everything, right? Even if you ain't got it and you tired, if you're looking over at your teammate and your teammate saying, come on, man, I need you right now. I got you too, though. You find that extra, bro. And that's scary with a team as talented as our team who has been waiting so long to be recognized, for one. And two, now you've said, we don't even care if y'all don't recognize us because we're going to make you recognize us. You got to see us. You're going to have to talk about us. And we got a guy who y'all ain't had nothing positive to say about, but he's going to make a name for himself as well. And we're here to support him the entire way. I'm scared for the league because I think his best is still yet to come. But the Ravens game for me is probably the best game that I've seen him play thus far in terms of what went into it, because Baltimore was beating our head in, bro, for a minute.
I want to ask you guys what you thought about this. I'm hitting y'all with a curveball that wasn't on your little pre-show list. I'm gonna at least one or two. I'm gonna play a clip from today if you guys didn't see it, from Tua. Salty Tua is the best Tua. Confident Tua is the remember what Nick Hicks told everyone. A confident Tua is a Super Bowl Tua. So I want you guys to hear what he said, because Tua took some jabs at the media and his doubters. Remember, he mentioned a couple weeks ago that he's kept the receipts, right? Listen to what this man said today. By the way, the hoodie he was rocking was off the absolute freaking chain. But this is what Tua said today. I want you to hear when he was asked about, areas he thinks he's most improved on. All right. So this is what he said, this little clip.
Well, I think I've grown a lot with the deep balls, huh? Don't we think? Yeah. That was probably a subtle jab, but it was a jab.
Yeah, he letting you know.
So I would say the deep ball. And then I can continue to get better on the deep ball. So
I love it.
Another thing he also said today, too, boys.
That's funny, man.
Another thing he said today, too, in that same presser.
Said something about Super Bowl, didn't he?
We're not afraid to talk about Super Bowls around here.
There we go.
I know we all love, seeing him bite back a little bit here. Could we just talk about this, though? The confidence Tua is playing with, you see it in his game, like that first touchdown throw to Waddle in the back of the end zone on that drag, and the follow through, the Curry follow through. Like, not only the talent, but
left it out there.
He left it up there, man. Not only the coaching staff and the talent, but to see the confidence in the offensive line and now his own abilities. And he's fully confident, clearly, in his body and where his health's at. Gentlemen, what a breath of fresh air to see this, to see him come out of his shell. At the same time, when he comes out of his shell, you see the jump in his play.
Confidence, not cockiness.
Yes. Yeah, I ain't cocky, I'm confident. So when you tell me I'm the best, it's a compliment. Jadakiss said that back in the day. What are your guys' opinions on just this, not just the player, but the person? He's married now. The new overall Tua you've seen, doesn't it just make you want to? It just makes you want to want him to solidify that franchise spot even more, doesn't it?
Bro, I think across the board, man, like people just really don't understand that this guy is genuinely just a great human being.
Yeah.
Like, take away your hate for college, for him being from Alabama, and the fact that Alabama was smacking on your favorite college team. The guy legitimately is just a good human being, and I just don't. It never made sense to me how you could not root for someone as nice as Tua. And then, you never heard anyone say anything negative about him. And even when people were dragging him and people had all this negative stuff to say about him, he just takes it on the chin and just says, you know what, God bless them. You know what I'm saying? That's their opinion of me, but I know I got things I need to work on. Keeps it humble. Like, you gotta really be a really messed up person to not want to root for this kid. Like, I don't really run. I'm not gonna run out here and talk over the top for quarterbacks because I always say they're the most dependent player on the field. But I even had to go back, and I don't know if some people don't know this, but like I wanted Isaiah Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I went back and I looked at all that footage of him, man, and I was like, okay, I see what reason that I'm talking about. But then I was like, you know what? They ain't gonna pull the trigger on him. But then they did. So I was like, you know what? I'm about the colors, man. Way more than the players, but I gotta be honest with you. I am a Tua. I love Tua Tagovailoa, man, because of the fact that he exemplifies to me the type of player that anybody that's ever coached this game or anybody that's ever played it, this is the type of guy that you would really go out and put everything on the line for, bro. So coachable, so humble, so willing to just leave it all out there for his teammates and for no glory at all for himself, but for the betterment of the organization and his teammates, man. And anybody willing to hate on that, they just need to go stand in the mirror. Go stand in the corner, facing the corner, man. Just go think about it, because you're a loser, bro. Like, that makes no sense.
Richmond, I want to get your thoughts on this, but only one quarterback in Dolphins history has 350-plus pass yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions while completing at least 80% of his passes in a game. And it ain't Danny Boy. All right. What are your thoughts? Because, I mean, again, people forget not only you're a Texas A&M alum, but you watch the SEC football as hardcore as anyone. You've seen this kid from the Bama, and I mean, even Russell just said, shout out to Russell Voris, and he said, watching Tua play live was electric in Detroit. He said people were really underestimating this kid in many ways, let alone his energy. I mean, we've seen a lot of people. We saw Prisco from CBS admit, "Hey, I was wrong." He hit Tyreek's having a year with him, but there's still people out here, Richmond. They're hating on this kid. They're not admitting they were wrong. I mean, and yet, how can you just not cheer for this kid?
It's crazy
with how he conducts himself, Richmond. I mean, you've been around a lot of different personalities in the locker room. I mean, and I'm sure this is a personality where a lot of people, would just, I don't want to call him the most electrifying man in sports right now, but he just has that aura that a lot of people would gravitate towards. And since Alabama, he's been a galvanizer. So what are your thoughts on what we're seeing with Tua coming out of his shell?
Well, I think this is always who he's been. I think he just never had the opportunity, like you said, the clashes with the previous regime, battling injuries, playing before he was ready to play, and then having everybody just dump on him. A lot of fans, not all of them, but a lot of them wanted, Herbert in LA versus, Tua, this and that. But I think this is who he always been. And even like when he said he's not scared to talk about the Super Bowl, I think that's part of the system he came out of, in Alabama. And like BallGame said, a lot of people like to hate Alabama, but I think what it is, it's not that people hate Alabama. They just want their school to be winning like Alabama on a consistent basis, this and that. And I guarantee you every year at Alabama, the goal is to win the national championship, make it to the playoffs, this and that. So that's instilled in him. So if the ultimate goal is to win the Super Bowl, he's been groomed for that. So when, a lot of people, the first thing, if you mention that to them, they'll start looking at, we got a good team, but maybe we need to improve here. If we had this and that, and you're like, no, that's what we can talk about the Super Bowl. I don't have no issue with that, because in his mind, he's probably already, that's his goal, that's his vision. He may have never came out and said it publicly, but when you come out of a program like that, Ohio State, the teams that consistently, the University of Georgia, make it to the college playoffs, that's their goal. Make it to the playoffs, and then we get in there, we can win the national championship. So I think it's new to us, but I don't think it's new to him. I think this is always he's been that way.
This is who he is. Alf, shout out to Alf from 3 yards per carry. He said, would love to hear the greatest left tackle in Finn's history talk about the second best left tackle in Finn's history. Terron Armstead is better than I even thought he was.
He's been playing amazing. I mean, I love the pick from the time that we signed him in the offseason, but we all knew we needed to shore up this offensive line. And when you go out and get a guy of that caliber and also Connor Williams, the first thing I thought about is, okay, you got one side, and then we had moved, Austin Jackson to the right tackle, and hopefully we get him back soon. Like BallGame said, we lost Liam Eichenberg. I don't know how serious his injury is, but we get Austin Jackson. MCL, so that could be 4 to 6 weeks, just depending on how. But man, it's been a breath of fresh air, and that's what I would say last year. I'm like, you can't truly evaluate Tua until you put a halfway decent line in front of him. Now he's got that. Now everybody can see what we were trying to talk about, where a lot of people just saying, oh, y'all just saying that because
those are excuses, Richmond. When we kept telling people, no, this is the context of the situation. Context matters.
The only people that was saying, I mean, the vast majority of people that were saying that foolishness are people that have no concept truly about football. Yeah. And I think the scariest thing is that those people have followings, and they're out here preaching that type of foolishness without really telling people the truth, which is that no quarterback, I don't give a damn who he is going to be as successful and reach his full potential if he can't be protected long enough to get the ball to where it's got to go. Mm-hmm. But you're telling them, oh, well, you know what I'm saying, such and such is doing, such and such is doing. No, such and such is not. The situations are different across the league, and everybody that you want to point out to say was doing something better than Tua had way better support personnel in front of them.
It's that Madden mentality, bro.
Yeah, but now that this kid is now provided what he needed, now it's like, oh, well, it's those players. No, this guy's always been a great quarterback, but show me one that didn't have issues if he didn't have a supporting cast worth the damn. You know what I mean? Like, just tell people the truth. Stop out here looking for clicks and looking for, you know what I'm saying, people to subscribe and, and pad your pockets. You know what I mean? Be honest with folk. The last thing we need more of in our community now, with the Dolphins community being as hateful and as divided as they've been, is people out here spewing foolishness. Educate the people. Even hell, even if they don't ask for it, you're still obligated, if you have a platform, to tell people the truth.
Yeah.
Don't give them your personal BS. Tell them the truth, because a lot of people
hurts those people, though, brother. The truth hurts those people.
A lot of people show up, man, to be educated. They might not admit it, but truthfully, when you walk into a room, I did it. I went to a couple platforms. They was up there. It was all chaos. I showed up and started spewing the truth. Next thing you know, it's quiet in the room because everybody that was up there had no idea of any of the stuff I was talking about on the level, but they were being educated. And you can't talk truth to people unless, well, you can talk truth to people. Eventually, they're going to shut up and listen. Mm-hmm. So if you got a platform and anybody tuning in this outside of my boy here, because my boy tell y'all the truth all the time, and we come up here every Wednesday and give y'all the truth and honest understanding of what football truly is and what it's about and what's happening. If you're out there doing all this foolishness, you got to look yourself in the mirror, man, because you're hurting the community. And then when it's all said and done and these guys do win a Super Bowl at some point, then you're going to be right there ready to party with us, and we're going to be looking at you side-eye, but we ain't haters also. We know what you said, but we're going to accept you in because of the fact that we all have gone through this
you can go party in the corner by yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You can get in the room. You can get in the building. You just ain't going to get over in our section.
Yeah.
We know who you was, and we know what you were doing over there when we was over here talking about, hey, you need to be over here with us because this thing's going to come around. All that, well, you know what, I'm going to stay negative and stuff. Man, let it go. Ain't no time for that, bro. Rally around what's real. You know what I'm saying?
Drop that Home Depot beat, man. Come on, let's see. Drop that Home Depot beat. Come on, let's get it.
Sick of it, man. Like really truthfully, man. Like, but
energy vampires. They're energy
like they've been
vampires,
they're so negative, bro. They can't see when a good thing is manifesting itself right in front of them.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
It's hard for people to admit they're wrong. A lot of people, it's hard. If they can do that.
Real men admit when they were wrong.
Damn.
Easy.
I've come up here and admitted I was
Easy.
wrong
It's the
about
truth,
Jamar
Richmond.
Chase. I admitted I was wrong about Justin Herbert. I've admitted I was wrong, but I've been right a lot more than I've been wrong. Let's also remember this. All right.
Hello.
Like,
But
Hello.
the
when you go
right
look
far
at it,
outweighs
yeah.
the wrong for me. But
Come
even
on,
when I
come
am
on with
wrong,
it
I
now.
still
when
admit
you
it.
go look, but when you go look at it, right? Yeah, you were wrong about Chase, but you also said that Burrow without his weapons ain't gonna look the same. And look what happened to him. They
And I
got
told everyone
dog
Waddle
walked.
was wide receiver 1 in that draft, and I stick by that.
Facts.
So,
They got
yeah.
dog walked by a 2-5 Browns team, now a 3-5 Browns team.
yeah.
Without Chase, he's
and
average
ladies,
at best, bro.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Hey, I don't know, bro. And I know, like, how you remember how, like, the first 2 years wins aren't a QB stat, but all of a sudden now people are really seeing the differential between Tua and the rest of them. And all of a sudden they're like, it's unignorable now. You cannot ignore.
No way getting around that.
You cannot ignore it now. And then it's just like, Tua just wins. Because even in games where you're like, okay, Tua's performance was okay at best, he still does enough for you to win.
Yep.
He'll still do enough for you to win.
Yep.
Like,
You got to have a
I'm just saying.
quarterback. Yeah, you got to have a quarterback to win.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what's the crazy thing? Even if he does go out and make a mistake, there is no hesitation in him going back out there to write that thing the next. That is not. That's something you can't teach. That's that internal dog, bro.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately. Oh man, I screwed that up. I got y'all. I got us, boys. Let's go. Let's get it.
Yeah.
I got it. Let's go get
Go
this
back
thing.
to that Atlanta game. We all thought the writing was on the wall. He had thrown 2 picks. Then he has that fourth quarter, and Flores cost us the game. He left the field with the lead and said, here you go. You're this defensive guru. Go call the game. And then we fall in the zone and give Kyle Pitts the middle of the field, and it's over.
Yeah.
So, and quite frankly, coaching lost us the Jags game too. And if you win either one of those games, we're in the playoffs last year.
They didn't have a timeout, and we called a timeout. And Urban Myers even said, "Man, I just thought up that play on this way. We practiced it during the week, but I didn't think we'd ever get a chance to use it."
Yeah.
And you pull your guys in and tell them, "Hey, let them catch it.
Yeah.
Just let them catch it. Just don't let them get out of bounds. Let the clock run out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah."
No,
let's talk about Tyreek and Waddle quickly for a sec. Between the two of them, they have 1,688 yards right now, which is absolutely ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous, boys, is when you actually look at teams' receiving yards, and that's 1,688 yards. Well, I mean, boys, that's better right now. All right, that's 1,688 yards. That would have them right now. They have more receiving yards than the Ravens, the Panthers, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Falcons, the Giants, the Bears, and the Titans. Just those 2 players have more receiving yards than 8 NFL teams right now.
That is insane.
All right.
Bro.
Tyreek's on pace for 2,041 yards. Waddle's on pace for like 1,500. They're on pace for over 3,500 yards between the two of them. And Tua missed 3 games.
Yeah.
Tyreek
would be he'd be really close to 1,200 right now. If Tua had, probably 12,
he'd be 11. Yeah, he'd be 1,200, I think, right
now. Yeah, he had missed those.
He's at 961 right now. He's 39 yards away from 1,000, and we're 8 games into 17 game season. Like, wow. What are your guys' overall thoughts? Because I mean, Richmond, you came not too long after them, so I mean, I'm sure you heard the stories. Duper brothers. I mean, the Mark brothers. Who? Mark, Clayton and Duper, who is all I know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, are we on the verge of watching arguably the greatest receiving duo of all time?
They're putting up some amazing numbers. I mean, you can't hate it. Like you said, Tua's missed 3 games. So you could probably add another.
And we all saw what Teddy was doing back there, all right? So,
that's the thing I think people don't take into consideration. But I think the thing that's even more impressive is they're unified. They don't care. They celebrate. One guy gets the pass, That's almost unheard of when you have two alphas, maybe three. I count two in there too, but nobody's saying, well, he got 180 yards and I only got 120, or I caught 9 balls and he caught 13. Long as they're winning, if one guy they celebrate the other, that is almost unheard of in this league right now. And they work together and they just want to win. And I think that is what I've been more impressed with is not a selfish player, because that type of negative energy can cost you games because somebody's pounding or whatever. I was open, he didn't throw me the ball. You don't see that energy, and I think that's the thing I've been most impressed with. And it's just, man, you don't see that often. But we got it right here, and I think people need to definitely appreciate that, the way they play as a team versus, individual stats, and not worry about that because that's going to take care of itself. But easily, I can see Tyreek doing it, because I'm like, man, he fast, but I watch him run and he get up on those guys so quick, and then he can start and stop. I'm like, man, it's just
Richmond,
I feel
and
bad for the defensive backs.
And do you remember that catch up the right side where he actually split the two defenders when they were in that cover four prevent almost?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we freeze framed it yesterday when we did the film breakdown. Tua, like, you couldn't throw it any earlier, and it was still under throw. Like, it was still like he threw to the right spot and he put good distance, but like Tyreek is just so fast that it was still a back shoulder throw when Tua released it as soon as he could. Like, the guy is just alien. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I watched Clayton and Duper.
Yeah,
they were the guys that I was able to come up watching, and I loved them. I gotta be honest with you, I loved them. But watching Tyreek and Waddle in today's NFL on the field, the things that these guys are able to do and how fast they are doing it and how precise they are at doing it, and the fact that Waddle is only his second year and he's going to get better. Scary, bro. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a tandem as fast and as skilled as these guys. Tyreek does not play like he's 5'10", bro. He plays like he's 6'2", 6'3", 220, 225. Waddle plays like he's 5'11", 6 foot, probably about 205. That's hard to deal with when you got guys that have no fear and will go up and get it. Or know they can go up and get it, and they know they can run by you and leave you standing there flat-footed and say, "Beep." You know what I mean? I feel bad for any defensive coordinator, man, that's got to do. I said it in the beginning, long before we even started. I've said I feel bad for anybody that's got to go out there and try to defend this, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
agreed.
bro. It's crazy. They can definitely
go ahead.
They can definitely be the best tandem to ever do it, bro.
Yeah. Well, what we're seeing right now is literally historic. That's why I had to ask.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the Bears game here. And the first question I want to ask y'all off the rip, and I'm starting with you, BallGame, the difference between the defense at home and on the road. If you look at home, they gave up 7 points to the Patriots. They gave up 21 points to the Bills on 93 snaps. They gave up 24 points to the Vikings, which really that game, was a lot closer than it should have, than the score even indicates there.
Right.
They gave up 10 points to the Steelers at home. Okay. On the road, though, they gave up 38 to the Ravens. They gave up 27 to the Bengals. Now, I know it got ugly at the end there, but the points still matter. Right. They gave up 40 to the Jets. And now they gave up 27 to the Lions. Your thoughts on the glaring difference on how this defense is performing on the road compared to how they're performing at home?
Well, I think the one thing you have to factor in more so is the fact that those games that they played, the Bills game, our guys was on the field for those 93. Our guys was on the field for those 93 snaps just as much as their offense was. So we took a beating from that game also. Even though it's our elements and it was at our home, our guys had to go out there and actually play it and all of that. And I just don't think that when you look at the differences, right, it takes a minute for them to get up when they're away because, unfortunately, they have to read the tempo of the game and see what other team is actually trying to do against you. And we just, unfortunately, just start late, man, and just give up too much in the early stages of the game. That can be corrected, though, with them getting healthier and them getting acclimated maybe a little bit faster and getting in town a little sooner to get things worked out with their bodies and whatnot, so they're rested and things of that nature. But I think overall, man, it's not something that jumps out to me as a huge issue yet, because I think it still can be corrected. You know what I mean? They started out bad against the Lions, but then in the second half, they became Scrooge. You know what I mean? It's only 67 yards they gave up total, right, in the second half, right? Yeah. Unheard of, right? They showed up and showed out in the second half. They just have to know that, you know what I mean? You can do the fill-out process for one quarter. Just make it one quarter to fill out with the team, because the team will show you in the first 2 to 3 series of what they're doing, what they want to do and how they want to attack you. Once you figure that out, that's when you can go ahead and clamp down. You can't go 3 quarters, or you can't go and give them more than 1 quarter to figure out how you're going to go back and attack them and punch them in the face. And unfortunately, we gave them a whole half, gave them some momentum, and gave them some confidence that they didn't deserve, and that the defense is definitely responsible for that. But I cut them a little bit of slack only because of the fact that I know they tired too, right? Like they had to be out there running around after Lamar. They had to be out there running around after Josh. You know what I'm saying? Those reps, and you factor in the high intensity of those games, it takes a toll on you, So but this is what championship caliber play looks like, and this is things that they're going. I'm happy, 100% happy that they're going through it. To be truthful with you, because you don't know how to deal with it unless you go through it and experience it. And this is all learning experiences for still a fairly young team. The guy we just brought over, Chubb, is only 26. Melvin Ingram is the oldest dude up front right now, and even he at times with mental mistakes, making foolish. But a lot of that's fatigue. They might not admit it, but it's fatigue, because those are the only reason why you can justify guys going out there and doing things the way they're doing them. But they can correct them. They're all correctable things, and I'm not necessarily worried, to be honest with you. I think they'll get it out. And the bye week can't get here soon enough, but take the bye week, they rest up and get their favorite. Don't call Deshaun, but make sure you have somebody on deck to get you some good massages. You know what I'm saying? And y'all missed that, but I think they're gonna be okay.
What's funny tonight is tonight I opened up I was opening up cards, and I was opening up 2022 2023 Elite, and one of the packs I opened up, it was literally Tua Tagovailoa, and then the card behind it was a numbered Deshaun Watson in his Browns uniform. I was like, ew. I was like, ew. I actually pulled the numbered that's the same. I pulled the numbered Tyreek Hill in the Dolphins jersey out of that. Anyways, so the reason why I ask is because, Justin Fields looked like he's turning a little bit of a corner. He's 17 of 23 for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he also added 60 yards on the ground last game. I mean, he added 82 yards on the ground against New England. He had 88 yards on the ground against Washington. And we know mobile quarterbacks always give us problems. At home this season, they're 2-1. Okay. They beat San Fran and they beat Houston at home. And they lost to the Commanders. Now, here's the thing. At home, the most points they've scored so far this season is 23. They beat the Houston Texans 20. I almost call them the Oilers, 23-20.
Right.
Boys, at home, San Fran, they allowed 10 points. Houston, they allowed 20. Washington, they only allowed 7. But let's stick to the offense, because we will talk about the defense in a sec. What are your guys' thoughts on their offense? Which, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. I mean, they got Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery, who they're going to rely on the most to run the rock for them, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing too with them is they just acquired Chase Claypool in a trade. So, I mean, I'm going to assume he's going to go this weekend for them. I mean, I would have to assume. But, you look at Khalil Herbert, he's averaging 6.2 yards per game. 6.2 yards per carry. Fields is averaging 5.6 yards per carry. Montgomery's averaging about 3.9. Guys, between the three of those, between Khalil Herbert, Justin Fields, and David Montgomery, they have over 1,300 yards between the three of those guys already on the ground. Okay. So they can move the football on the ground. What are your thoughts of this offense, their offense, against our defense? We'll start with you, Richmond. What do you think? Like protection wise, they're really not that great on their offensive line. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields and this Bears offense?
Yeah, Justin. I like Justin. Remember, he was at Ohio State. Great, player. I think he was a top dual threat coming out of Georgia when he came out of high school. But I think like they're not great up front, so that's why he has all those rushing yards. So it's good they got that. But I think the thing that if I'm Chicago, I'd be concerned with is I don't think they can consistently if Justin is forced to put the ball where he's forced to throw the ball to keep him in the game. I think that's where the game gets really, really rough on Chicago and the tide turns. I mean, you can run the ball, this and that, but that eats up more clock, this and that. And the way we have the ability to score and move the football and stuff like that, not only for the defenses is the issue, but it's for the offense, because if you get in a shootout, do we have the players to keep up with an offense like that? And I don't think they do. And like you said, with adding Chubb and stuff like that, I think we should start to play a little bit better. Like I think BallGame hit. I think they were tired. There was a couple games back to back. They played a lot of reps, and then if we just clean up some of the penalties, just simple penalties like lining up off sides. We did it several times in Detroit, stuff like that. Just little things to not beat ourselves. We can get off the field, and that definitely helps your defensive numbers because it forces the team to punt and stuff like that. So I like Justin Fields, but I'm not really concerned. I'm not really concerned with him like that. Where I think they really got legit. I think we should handle them pretty easily this weekend.
Well, how are you attacking their offense, BallGame?
I'm not changing anything, man. I think the mantra, well, the mindset for me is we're going to do what we do, and you got to figure out how to execute against it. They're not that great, right? A lot of those yards, I believe, is that dude running for his life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bode well for them. I don't know. Even without Chubb, I just don't think they have enough up front. I think this is one of those games where Phillips really just goes off, bro. And, maybe Ogba gets his mind back together as well now that you done brought Chubb to the party. He got to prove, he still got a little left in the tank too. It's a bad week I think it's a bad week for the Bears, to be honest with you, because I don't think they have anything now that and they got rid of their number one tackler and Smith. They sent him away, and they got rid of Jackson on the back end, who's I believe their best secondary player. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think that's shit. Games like this, they scare you though, because again, teams will get up. They will fight, you know what I mean? They will punch and fight as much as they can, and then somebody, you have it. Okay, they don't have anything for us, bro. I'm trying to really be, political about it, but when it all turns out, our roster is way too much for them, man, on both sides.
Yeah,
they just don't have enough for us. I don't even know who their number one receiver is. Claypool.
It's going to be him, but before him was Mooney.
He got smashed. I mean, but we handled him, and he was in Pittsburgh. So what would be the difference? It's not like he's gonna show up there and be a completely different player. Like,
yeah, their number one guy is Darnell Mooney right now.
Darnell Mooney,
and he doesn't even have a touchdown yet.
Say his name again. Darnell Mooney.
Mooney. Yeah.
Mooney. Yeah. Nah, don't work for me either. You know what I'm saying?
They drafted him into his year in the 5th round.
Yeah, nah. Yeah. This is one of those games where you go in, just go ahead and handle your business, man, and get on up out of there and move to the next week. Don't look past them, though, because I think we did that with the defense. Detroit. I think defensively we looked past Detroit a bit, and they punched us in the mouth. and punched us in the gut. You know what I'm saying? And they was about ready to give us the uppercut, but then we had a chance to catch our breath, and then we got to the corner and was like, all right, guys, is this really happening? Are we really gonna let this happen? Okay, let's go do what we're supposed to do. And that's it. To handle business, man. That's it.
You slightly touched on about it, but let's talk about it. This is a depleted defense to what it was,
Right.
just a couple weeks ago. I mean, they are the number 5 passing defense. They only allow about 188 yards per game, but they were the 31st against the run. They were giving up about 156 yards per game. 19th scoring defense, only allowing about 22.6 points per game, and they're actually the 16th best total defense in terms of only giving about 344 yards per game. What are your thoughts? Roquan's gone, Robert Quinn's gone. Richmond, I mean, they've lost one of their premier pass rushers in Robert Quinn. They lost their premier second level guy in Roquan Smith. I mean, is it, we talked about how their offense can't keep up with our offense. Do you think their defense is going to be able to keep up with our offense?
Those are big holes to fill. Roquan is just, I mean, it was perfect timing for the Dolphins. And like you said, the way Mosier and they've been running the football and that, it just provides a 1-2 punch to where you can't say, well, maybe if we take the run, we can force them to throw. I think we'll be able to just execute offense. I think we'll be able to run the ball effectively, but that run pass option sometimes I think it's going to be frustrating. I think just like it was for Detroit, he's going to hand it off at times, but then he's going to hit them, and it happens so quick that you be like, man, I thought it might go over here, but it goes there. It's almost like he always gets wrong. So it's going to be a challenge, and I think it's going to be frustrating, and it's really nothing. I don't know. The coordinator is going to be able to tell them to say, hey, guys, we got to do this, this, and that, because if you do this, we're going to do this to you. If you do A, we'll go B. So it's going to happen either way. You just got to take that L. It's pretty frustrating, I think, when it's almost like me walking into the ring with an MMA fighter and just getting the hell beat. I have no experience in that, but if we put some shoulder pads on, I think I'll bet on myself. But yeah, walking in that ring like that, it wouldn't even be fair. I mean, and that's how I feel, especially after you trade away your best players and stuff like that. So it's going to be definitely a challenge for Chicago.
So what are you guys' predictions heading into this game? Because in case you didn't see, gentlemen, Tua Tagovailoa, he was actually named the FedEx Air Player of Week 8. So he was the quarterback of the week right here. You can see he won that poll over Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray. So what are your guys' predictions for how you see this one playing out? We'll start with you, BallGame.
Landslide. I think they want to make statement games of all the games going forward. So I'm gonna go 42-10, bro. I'm gonna go 42-10. I think they light it up again. I don't think they have anything for us, and Mike's not gonna take his foot off the gas. He's just gonna bomb early and bomb often, and then let the chips fall where they lie and send another message to the league. You know what I'm saying? You don't have anything for us. So
what's your prediction, Richmond?
I'm gonna go 31, 13, 17, somewhere in there. I think they'll be somewhere in there. Dolphins win, of course.
So we obviously see it as a lopsided victory. I think they're going to win too. As usual, I'll give my prediction on Friday night off Inside the NFL. Final thoughts, guys. And one thing I did want to say to you guys before we get out of here, because I don't know if you saw Greer's presser today, but he said something interesting. He was asked, do you have a piece of paper or dry erase board or something with Laramie Tunsil at the top and then all the picks and players you've gotten from that trade? We tried to figure it out, and it's really hard, but obviously there's a lot of players that have come out of those transactions. I mean, guys, we used some of those picks in that Trey Lance, with that whole Trey Lance thing, and we turned the Trey Lance stuff that San Francisco traded us. We've turned that into Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Bradley Chubb. So You know, it all started with Laramie Tunsil. Anyways, you know, he basically said, well, I always have to go back to Laramie is a very good player. And he said, and this is where it's interesting, he and I we text every once in a while. And I joke with him, and guys will tell me, like, Laramie is like, bring me back, just joking in the offseason about stuff. So, you know, people were out here like, yo, isn't this tampering? Like, you're straight up admitting you talked to this guy and he's telling you he wants to come back. But your guys' final thoughts before we get out of here, now that you know that Laramie Tunsil has looked what we've turned his trade into, and he says, I want to be back there. Your guys' final thoughts that even traded players want to come back.
Hey, I put a big smile on my face. Could you imagine if we had Terron Armstead on one side and Laramie on the other side?
Buddy, no, just kick Laramie to left guard. Remember when he played next
whatever.
to
I mean, I
remember when he
welcome
played
that.
next to Brandon Albert for that unicorn
that.
line? Woo!
Yeah, I remember that. So it's just like, you know, wow. But my final thoughts is, and I think we all talked about it early on, even before the season, it just feels different. And from the time McDaniel came in, some of the acquisitions they made, and then to be halfway mid-season and, you know, to make these boss moves, to bring in a guy like Chubb and the other additions, it just feels different. And I think they realize, like you said, like the LA Rams, you go get what you need in order to be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, like BallGame said, it's a little early to be talking about it, but they're making moves in preparation for that. And I think that's different. I think that was like rejuvenating the fan base when you hear stuff like that. And I think Chubb and Mr. Phillips going to have a big day on Sunday when we meet up with the Bears. So I'm just waiting on this weekend, ready to go.
Yeah, I think I second everything you just said, Richmond. I think it's a good space that this team is in. You know, as predicted again, right? Everything is rounding into shape right at the 8 week mark, and sky's the limit for this group at this point. Like you said, reason the only thing can slow them down, man, is injuries. And that booger we had early, man, they might be coming out. They might be coming through the area for the league. Like, real talk. Like, these guys do an amazing job on offense. Most of the offensive guys do an amazing job of taking care of their body, especially the skill players. So, it's just, man, if teams ain't gonna let them get the yak that they want. But it's okay because they're getting chunk yardage. You know what I'm saying? 15 here, 17 there, 22 here, 24 there, that type of stuff. So you don't really need the yaks. I hear people out here talking about that as well. But when you got guys,
Tua ranks 30th in the NFL in yards after the catch.
Because our guys are catching the ball in spaces that only they can catch them and getting down to preserve themselves instead of taking these huge big hits that might potentially put them out. Yeah, that's the problem. That's what people don't. That's the thing that people aren't computing. And they need to start looking at this game differently. These guys are playing smart football, extremely smart football. They're running through zones, sitting down in them at depths that are stressing these defenses so much that by the time somebody get to them, all they got to do is catch it, get down, first down, let's move on. Don't worry about we're not going to worry about what comes after it because, you know, as you saw, there are shots that we take that guys run under the rainbows and catch them like Waddle did, you know what I mean, and touchdown. So there'll be those moments too. But when you get chunk yardage, forget yak. Yak ain't important. Yeah. Yak is for teams that can't get the chunk yardage consistently. We get chunk yardage, bro.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I gotta say this. I hate to gaslight everyone because I know we were talking about Super Bowl or bust. But the last two big trade deadline acquisitions where the Broncos shipped out a player. 2019, Emmanuel Sanders went to the 49ers. What'd the 49ers do?
Super Bowl.
Okay. Von Miller to the Rams in 2021. What did the Rams do?
Super Bowl.
Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins. What will the Dolphins do? Oh, so just a little food for thought. I'm just putting it out there. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. History
let me ask you a question.
Itself.
Let me ask you a question, though. Hypothetically, Dolphins versus 49ers.
I think it's going to be, you want to hear something crazy?
That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Dolphins versus Eagles.
Oh,
Hurts versus Tua.
That's landslide.
I don't know. The Eagles are a good football team, bro.
They over there in the NFC least, bro. Come on.
Oh, I think we can beat them, but they're a
Yeah.
good football team. They have
they're
a
solid.
lot of depth.
Yeah, they're solid.
That would be a great matchup. Former Alabama quarterbacks, 2 against his backup. I got even one better. Dude, at the rate Mac Jones is going, he's going to end up being our backup in Miami one day anyways, behind Tua. He'll be right back to where he was at Alabama. The way that guy's playing, he's going to be a
It wouldn't
Tua's
surprise me if
backup.
Belichick just went ahead and said, you know what? I had a good run. I'm out of here.
Now you got 2 backups, Zappy and him. I mean, who's really the stud in that, in that stable? I don't think either one of them.
One of them. Yeah.
And that'd be cool because Devontae Smith is over there. We have Waddle. They drafted Landon Dickerson. Remember that center? And they shifted him to guard. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that'd be kind of cool. But
the Alabama homecoming.
It would be, but I like. Dude, San Fran, I don't think they're a joke at all, And listen,
McCaffrey was nasty on Sunday, bro.
I know. And you know what?
Ran a touchdown.
I know. Admitting you are wrong on Edmonds and it's not going to work and using him to get something that we really need. I love the lack of ego and the humbleness to go, admit you're wrong. It's in your shortcomings instead of trying to drag it out. You know what I mean? So, all right, guys. Anything else before we get out of here?
Gotta go watch these Astros. That's it.
You about to get what? What's the score right now?
Tell these clowns to leave the negativity at the door, man.
It's only 3-0, 4-0. It's only a matter of time before Bryce Harper hits a home run and brings them right back in.
Easy. Did that last night.
Hey, when you watch the Astros, do you bang on your garbage cans at home like they were doing when they were giving signals a couple years ago? Hey, you bring your garbage cans out? What? It's like the New England Patriots of the freaking Major League Baseball, bro. I swear. Anyways, all right, we're gonna get out of here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I will be live on Inside the NFL Friday night. Do a deep dive preview of the game this weekend between the Dolphins and the Bears. And then I will be live on Sunday on Inside the NFL, live reacting to the Bears and the Dolphins game. And gentlemen, it was so nice. We had to do it twice, 2 victory shows in a row. Let's go for the thrice. Let's do it thrice. All right. Let's get another 3-game winning streak. Here we go, baby. 3's the charm. Gentlemen, as always, it's been a pleasure. Everyone else out there, enjoy the rest of your week. As always, fins up all day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay. See y'all.
Indeed.